virtual public meeting for the proposed Donmar sand mine. I am Laura Boyce. I'm the Community Engagement Coordinator for DHEC's Office of Environmental Affairs. Tonight, I will be serving as the technology host for our virtual meeting. Other DHEC staff are assisting with tonight's meeting. Catherine Yan will be assisting with the virtual aspects. Catherine, would you like to introduce yourself?
Good evening, everyone. This is Catherine Yan.
Thanks, Catherine. And Christy Ellenberg is serving as a liaison to our virtual meeting from the Baldwin-Carson Community Outreach Center there in UG, South Carolina. Christy, would you and the other DHEC staff there like to introduce yourselves?
Thanks, Laura. We're here. Thanks for having us.
Great. Thanks, guys. It's good to see you. In just a few minutes, you will be introduced to several other DHEC staff from our Bureau of Land and Waste Management who are also involved in this virtual meeting. We are using this technology to provide opportunities for continued participation in our decision-making processes while we do our part to reduce the spread of coronavirus by following current federal and state guidelines that promote social distancing. We certainly want to hear from everyone who is interested, and as the state's public health agency, we must make public health and safety a priority. We do encourage you to help stop the spread of COVID-19 by wearing a mask, washing your hands often, staying home when sick, covering any coughs and keeping those surfaces clean. And most importantly, we encourage you to stay up to date and stay informed of COVID-19 by visiting our website, scdhec.gov/COVID-19. Your participation today is so important to us, so we have gone to extensive efforts to ensure that anyone who is interested in engaging with us has the ability to do so. We're very thankful for the assistance that the Coastal Conservation League and the Baldwin-Carson Community Outreach Center has given to us to provide this option for folks to attend this public meeting in person there in UG, South Carolina. We are continuing to evaluate the tools and accommodations, and we certainly welcome your input on how we may be able to improve your experience with virtual participation. So please give us your thoughts in a feedback survey that will be posted on our webpage after tonight's meeting. Before we get started, if you're joining us through a laptop or an electronic device, a couple of tips just to help your experience go smoothly. We do encourage you to close other applications that may be running on your computer and to turn off any streaming services or devices at your location for the duration of the virtual meeting. After the presentation, we will unmute lines and provide an opportunity for you to ask questions. We ask that you keep your line muted and your camera off until it is your turn to speak. This virtual meeting is being recorded, and the recording will be placed on our webpage in the next few days. Donna Moy will be serving as your facilitator tonight, and I will assist after the presentation with some additional instructions for the question and answer session. Okay, Donna, if you are ready, I think we can get started and you may introduce yourself.
Thank you, Laura. Hello and welcome. My name is Donna Moy. I am the Public Participation Coordinator for DHEC's Bureau of Land and Waste Management in Columbia. I will be facilitating tonight's virtual meeting. It is a pleasure to be here with you, and on behalf of DHEC, I would like to thank you for taking the time to join us remotely. As Laura mentioned, an option to attend this meeting in person at the Baldwin-Carson Community Outreach Center was prearranged by the Community Center and the Coastal Conservation League. As you heard, Christy Ellenberg with DHEC's Office of Environmental Affairs will be assisting with facilitation from this remote location. We ask those of you joining us remotely from the Community Center to be sure to wear a mask and stay 6 feet apart to protect yourself and those around you. Also joining us from the Community Center tonight is Julie Blaylock, Assistant Bureau Chief in the Bureau of Land and Waste Management, and here in Columbia, Joe Kuhn with DHEC's Mining Program. DHEC is holding this meeting because we recognize that the proposed Donmar sand mine is an important issue in your community. Our purpose for this meeting is to share information with you, answer your questions, and listen to you. Our goal is for you to know that your voice has been heard in our permitting process prior to a final decision being made. The perspective that each of you bring to the conversation tonight is unique and valued. As you know, COVID-19 has impacted the way we all communicate with each other, both personally and professionally. In keeping with our agency's efforts to prevent the spread of COVID-19, we are continuously looking at how we can connect with communities in new and innovative ways while still promoting social distancing and avoiding group gatherings. This virtual public meeting was planned with these important points in mind. While the business of our state must continue during this time, DHEC remains committed to listening to your questions and concerns and sharing information with you. We are pleased to have the opportunity to talk with you tonight in this unconventional yet meaningful way. This online platform will enable you to have a conversation with DHEC staff in a live event setting. The technology is advanced and comes with its own unique challenges. We appreciate your patience and understanding as we work through any technical issues that may arise. DHEC has created a web page for access to information about the proposed Donmar sand mine. This meeting is being recorded and will be posted on the web page along with the presentation that is given tonight. The web page address is www.scdhec.gov/Donmar mine. We will now move on to our agenda for this meeting. An overview of the proposed mine will be given tonight by Joe Kuhn, Section Manager of DHEC's Mining Program. Following Joe's presentation, our tech host, Laura Boyce, will give instructions on how to participate in the discussion from your remote location. Laura will then call on those of you who indicated during pre-registration that you would like to speak. Once we conclude with those who pre-registered to speak, we will begin calling on all others who have not yet had the opportunity. We will alternate between those who are joining us online, by phone, and those who are in person at the community center. We understand there may be a variety of concerns about the proposed mine. Please remember that the focus of this public meeting is on DHEC's mine operating permit decision. A final decision will not be made tonight and will not be based upon how many people say the same thing. There are 4 guidelines I will ask you to remember before we get started. First, please be respectful towards all who are presenting information or making comments. You each have a unique and valued perspective, and no one comment is more important than another. Each of you has the right to participate tonight, and you will be given an equal opportunity to do so. Second, only ask one question at a time. We will come back to you if you have more than one. It is important that everyone who wishes to ask a question has an equal opportunity to do so. Third, please do not interrupt a speaker or ask others to respond while you are speaking. Should any comments or actions begin to distract from the intent of this meeting, you may be placed on mute or removed from the online platform. And fourth, please listen to learn the unique perspective that each person brings to the conversation tonight. With that, I will now call on Joe Kuhn to begin our presentation. Joe, are you ready?
Yes, thank you, Donna. My name is Joe Kuhn. Good evening. My name is Joe Kuhn, and I am the Mining and Reclamation Section Manager. I want to thank everyone for showing interest in the proposed Donmar sand mine application. I am pleased to have the opportunity to meet with you this evening and hear your comments, concerns, and questions. The DHEC team and I both here virtually and in person at the Community Center, look forward to engaging with you in a positive and meaningful way this evening and moving forward. Please know that if you are not able to address all comments or questions this evening, or if you would like to have further discussions, both Haley Smar, the project manager, and myself are available. Our contact information will be provided along with regional staff from our Charleston office. We have prepared a brief presentation that overviews the past and current status of this mine site, outlines the proposed individual application details, and outlines the next steps in our permitting process. With that, I'll get started with the presentation. For those of you following along, I am now on slide 7, which is a map showing the location of the proposed Donmar sand mine near the intersection of Charity Church Road and Highway 41. The permit boundary is shown in yellow and is bordered to the east by a railroad corridor and Highway 41, to the north by Charity Church Road, to the west by Constitution Avenue, and to the southwest by developed residential properties and undeveloped land. Also shown on this map is the new entrance road that crosses the railroad easement and intersects directly to Highway 41. Old entrance roads used to access previously permitted general permit areas are shown in the northwest and northeast corners of the map. Within the yellow permit boundary, the area shaded in red is the proposed buffer area, and the area central to the map, unshaded, is the area to be affected by mining and associated activities. The two currently permitted general permit areas are visible within this unshaded area, one at the southwest side and one in the northeast corner. All material has been mined from these general permit areas, and the applicant proposes to incorporate these areas into the proposed individual permit. I am now on slide 8, which is a historical overview of what has happened to date. During the years of 2016 and 2017, coverage was granted for 2 general mine permits, each for 5 acres, each limited to a depth of 20 feet. In 2017, DHEC received an individual mine permit application. During the years of 2017 and 2019, the applicant pursued a Berkeley County Board of Zoning appeal approval. Earlier this year, DHEC public noticed the individual mine permit application. I am now on slide 9. The proposed permitted area totals 141.86 acres, including an affected area of 40.54 acres to include 29.73 acres of expanded mine area, inclusive of the 2 general permit areas, 0.85 acres of the new haul road, and 10-acre area of office, parking, and stockpile area. The remaining 101.32 acres will remain as undisturbed buffer areas. I am now on slide 10. This is the proposed mine map. Again, to the north is Charity Church Road, which is a permit boundary. To the east is a railroad corridor that runs north-south, and the west side of that corridor is also a permit boundary. The land to the east of that corridor is not within the permitted area, with the exception of the haul road. The land to the south is developed and undeveloped land, and it also creates the permit boundary wrapping around to the west. Constitution Avenue is to the west, as previously stated. The area shaded in green is that 101-acre buffer area that will remain undisturbed. All the wetlands that have been delineated within the property are within that undisturbed area. The proposed mine area is the unshaded area in the center of the map. Again, bordered on each end in the southwest side and the northeast corner by currently permitted general permit areas. I am now on slide 11. The proposed mining process begins with the clearing of trees and vegetation. Topsoil is then removed and stockpiled. The mine area is developed and mined by a dig and haul method where no further processing of sand will take place on site. The proposed depth of the mine is 30 feet, and the anticipated mine life is 7 years. I am now on slide 12, which shows a typical mine operation in the coastal plain of South Carolina. Shown in the picture is an excavator stockpiling mine material in the mine area surrounded by a rim ditch, which is used to manage water as the site is dewatered for mining. In the background is a tree line, which indicates undisturbed buffer. I am now on slide 13. All mines in South Carolina must have a reclamation plan. Reclamation is the planned process for restoring the affected land to a useful purpose while protecting natural resources of the surrounding area. A reclamation plan was included in the application, which proposes to reclaim this mined land to ponds and grasslands. The land will be sloped and graded. Topsoil will be used to enhance vegetation along the slopes, and a reclamation bond will be in place and remain in force to ensure performance of reclamation to minimum reclamation standards. I am now on slide 14, which shows an example of a reclaimed sand mine in the coastal plain of South Carolina. To a pond and a grassland. I am now on slide 15, which shows the mine permitting timeline again to date. On November 1st of 2017, a mine application was received. On March 12th of this year, that application was placed on public notice. We are here tonight, September 1st, 2020, holding a virtual public meeting with an in-person component. On September 16th, the public comment period will close for this application review process. I am now on slide 16. The next steps in our permitting process, DHEC will review all comments and concerns received during the approximately 3-year permit review process. DHEC will make a final permitting decision and provide notification and a written response to all comments received to everyone on DHEC's mailing list. A final permit decision will be made, and that will begin a 15-day appeal period. I am now on slide 17. Other DHEC permits and determinations are required to operate a sand mine in the coastal plain of South Carolina. On June 2nd, 2020, the Coastal Zone Consistency Determination was made by the Office of Ocean and Coastal Resource Management. And on June 1st of 2020, coverage under the National Pollution Discharge Elimination System General Permit for discharges associated with non-metal mineral mining was granted by DHEC's Bureau of Water. Both of these decision documents can be viewed on our webpage. I am now on slide 18. How to comment. Please submit all comments by mail or email by September 16th of 2020 to Mrs. Haley Smar at the following address. Additional information, again, can be found at www.scdhec.gov/Donmar Mine. If you would like to reach out and contact myself or Mrs. Haley Smar or somebody at our regional office, that contact information is shown on this slide. Again, that contact information is also available on our website. Both Haley and I are available to discuss any comments and concerns with you at any point in time. Simply give us a call. With that, I'll give it back to Donna. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. I would ask, Joe, if you could confirm that the map that is shown in the presentation is on site there at the community center, if anyone would like to look at it. Is that correct?
I can confirm that both of the maps that I showed during this presentation are available on site, set up on easels in a larger, easier viewable, 2 foot by 3 foot version.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. So our tech host, Laura Boyce, will now give instructions on commenting from your remote location, and she will begin calling on those of you who pre-registered to speak. Laura, you ready?
Sure. As Donna noted tonight, it is so important that we hear from you in the time that we have. So there's a few guidelines that we wanted to just help everybody to follow. We are recording this meeting as both a resource to our team and also to share with those who may not be able to join us. And so a copy of that recording will be made available on our webpage as soon as possible. We will ask you to please be respectful, and we may need to mute lines if there is extra background noise, but we'll try to call on you and help you share in the discussion and get your questions asked. We do want to also make sure that everyone can be heard, so we'll ask that only one person talk at a time, and we will try to assist with that also. In the interest of time, we do ask that you try to ask only 1 or 2 questions at a time so that we can make sure we have time to hear from others. As Donna indicated, a few folks did indicate in the pre-registration that they would like to speak, so we will call on them first. When I call your name, please remember to unmute your line by clicking the microphone on your screen or by using *6 if you're joining us by phone. Then please clearly state your name and identify any organization or group you may be representing. The first person that we will call on is Mr. Kevin Coffey. Christy, is Mr. Coffey joining you there?
Miss Boyce?
Yes.
This is Kevin Coffey. I'm with the developer, so I'm just here to answer questions.
Perfect. Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next we have Ms. Shanika Brown. Christy, is Ms. Shanika Brown at the location with you?
No, Laura, we don't have Miss Brown here, I don't believe.
Okay, we will try to come back to her. Maybe she will join a little later. Next, we also have Mr. Andrew Hollis, who indicated he'd like to speak. I believe he may be with you, Christy. Is that correct?
He is here, and Andy, would you like to? He's coming this way. Thanks, Laura.
Hey, I just want to test the sound there. No, I really want to just have this opportunity to make sure everything worked okay and to try the registration form. So carry on.
Good, sounds good. We can hear you loud and clear. All right, well, if there are others who would like to speak, we do have two ways that you can indicate that you would like to ask a question. You can raise your hand by clicking on the hand raise icon in the floating toolbar on your screen, or you can unmute your line and we will know to call on you. If you're dialing into the meeting, press *6 to unmute. And once you've unmuted, please refrain from speaking until you are called on either by your name or the last 4 digits of your phone number. And when it is your turn, please clearly state your name. And if we experience a lot of background noise, we may need to mute you, but we'll try to come back to you. Do we have any questions?
Looks like Christy may be getting some people ready. They're at the community center, Laura. So while they are coming up to the mic, it looks like somebody might be ready now.
My name is Sybil Mitchell, and I am the program manager for the Baldwin-Carson Community Outreach Center. I would like to first thank DHEC, Donmar, Representative Jefferson, Coastal Conservation League, and most importantly, the residents and the supporters of our communities for this hybrid meeting. My question is primarily a comment and then really a question. And we're aware of the DHEC's mission, and that is to protect and promote the health of the public and environment and to improve the quality of life of South Carolinians. My question is, how does DHEC define a good quality of life within the context of its mission statement? Because one part of your mission statement is to improve the quality of life of all South Carolinians. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Donna.
I was just going to thank Ms. Siebel. I know she's been heavily involved in making this happen, and we sure do appreciate that involvement. So what were you going to say, Laura?
I was just going to clarify her question and make sure everybody could hear it.
It would help to repeat that, Laura.
Okay, great. I'll paraphrase as best I can. Ms. Siebel was saying that DHEC's mission is certainly to protect, promote, and improve quality of life for South Carolinians. And so she was asking, how does DHEC define quality of life and how does that relate to this project?
So I think, Joe, this might be a good time for you to just mention the regulations and what the regulations, how it addresses these issues. As far as protecting public health and the environment.
Sure, Donna, and thank you for your comment, Ms. Siebel. We certainly do take a lot of pride in DHEC's mission to maintain the quality of life and improve the quality of life for all South Carolinians. I guess I'll try to answer this in two ways. Any regulations that DHEC is under DHEC's purview are certainly protective of human health and the environment, to maintain quality of life, and protective of communities. So I can say that the South Carolina Mining Act and its regulations were developed to be protective of communities. And so I would like to just say the primary purpose of the South Carolina Mining Act is to provide that the usefulness, productivity, and scenic values of all lands and waters involved in mining within the state receive the greatest practical degree of protection and restoration, and that no mining may be carried out in the state unless plans for the mining include reasonable provisions for protection of the surrounding environment and for the reclamation of the area of land affected by mining.
Thank you, Joe. So I don't know, Christy, is Julie on site there with you? Is she within earshot? Is there anything that she would like to add to that?
Yeah, 1 second,
Yeah.
Donna.
Donna, give us logistics. We're up here. I've got another gentleman that wants to speak. I think Joe did a great job. I mean, as you know, regulations are promulgated with quality of life for citizens and the health and well-being of citizens in South Carolina in mind. Joe did a great description. That's why we look at buffers. That's why we look at, so many things as far as water quality, depth of groundwater, things like that. But we always take comments and we encourage collaboration with owners of sites at the mine sites and other type facilities, whether they're solid waste facilities, mine facilities, or whatever. So I would just say that not only are regulations helpful in promoting and protecting the health and the environment, but we also like that you have collaboration with the local facilities so that you can have some other concessions. And it's my understanding that there are also some concessions on this site that were worked out through a zoning process as well, that I think road routes, things like that, that may also be more protective and I guess taking into consideration community concerns.
Thank you, Julie.
My name is
So let's give them 1 second. Donna, are we ready for another comment?
I think so. You can go ahead.
Kenneth Grant. I serve with the Men's Coalition on the Hughes area. And my comment and question is the last meeting y'all had, my question was the need of this community. This is a small knitted community. We have two major plant, Nucor Steel, BP, chemical plant. And this is and then my question to DHEC, how do you allow a company to come in a small area like this, where there's half the people got sewage, half the people got water, and then they're constantly digging. As they constantly dig, we people who got well water, they're well gone. So how do you all allow that to happen in a little small community like this? And what are those folks going to do to help these people when their well go dry? Because the need, I speak today on behalf of this community. The need of this community is really water and sewage. Because I work at both these plants. I work at Nucor 17 years. I work at BP 13 years. So I know the condition that these plants are bringing to this community. So the need I see tonight is that we need water and sewage. We need water and sewage, because when the wells go dry, what do these people do? So that's my concern. And the question is, how do you all allow this to happen in a small community? Thank you.
Thank you. Christy, could you maybe, I didn't catch that gentleman's name.
It was Kenneth, what was your last name? Kenneth Grant? That was Kenneth Grant, Donna.
Okay.
And just to try to recapture that, what I was hearing is some concerns about private well water and the needs for water and sewer. Again, we're focusing on kind of that mine permit tonight, and certainly we want to make sure we're able to address those private well concerns. Is that something you can address for us, Joe?
Sure, I'd be glad to, Christy. And thank you, Mr. Grant, for bringing those concerns to us this evening. We certainly wouldn't want any mine operation to impact anybody's ability to have good, clean drinking water. And so as part of our process, we look at a couple things there, and we've also collaborated with Berkeley County on this, and they provided us some good information. It is my understanding that there is some Berkeley County water supply lines that run along Charity Church Road, and we also were provided some information about wells in the area, known wells in the area, and the depths of those wells. And just looking over that information, it appears that the large majority of those wells range from 150 to 250 foot depth, and some much deeper than that. If there are folks there in the audience or anybody on the virtual line that has any other information about their well, we would certainly want to understand that information. And so I would encourage you to give us a call or send us a comment with any information you have. And to make that more convenient for you, we have placed a water well survey on our website that will prompt you to fill out some of the information that we're looking for, which is basically the location of your well, the depth of your well if you know it, the diameter of your well, and the location again would be very useful information to have. And if you're not able to get that information to us or get the form, we'll certainly do everything we can to get it to you. In regards to the permit itself, it will be conditioned that if DHEC determines that the operations there at the mine would cause any well problems, then the operator would be required to remedy those problems. And I do understand that through the county process, there was a settlement agreement that was arrived at that also requires them to remedy any well issues and actually provide some resources. They were required to provide some resources to do so. So I would certainly encourage you to contact Berkeley County to get details on that. So again, we're looking at a mine depth of around 30 feet, and well depths that we know of in the area in excess of 100 foot to 250 foot. And mining in general is a very slow process. These 2 5-acre areas that they've already mined on more or less the boundaries of the permitted area have already filled back with water. And then the affected area itself is also surrounded by wetlands that feed French Quarter Creek and go on to feed the Cooper River. And we know that the water table there is fairly shallow, somewhere around 10 foot, possibly even less below the ground. And so as they develop this mine over the course of 5 to 7 years, they'll be anticipating, needing to pump, something in the range of, I think they estimated somewhere around 2,800 gallons a day to be discharged. So that comes to about 2 gallons a minute. So that's a pretty slow rate of water to be pumped out of this pond as they develop it. And I've had an opportunity to visit many mine sites across the coastal plain of South Carolina. And, typically they pump, a couple days early in the week to kind of dry out their working area, and they may not pump again Wednesday through Friday. So again, we wouldn't anticipate this operation to have any impacts on wells in the area, but if there are wells that you all know of that are shallow, we certainly would like to know that information.
So, Joe, could you maybe speak just a little bit about the site that has been chosen for this, and who does that, and how it is decided upon?
As far as how the location of the mine is chosen?
Right. I think Mr. Grant, his question was how could DHEC allow this in their small community? So I wanted to make sure we didn't lose that.
Right, and I'm going to go back to the mine map area that I had previously just for discussion purposes as well. But yeah, DHEC doesn't really play a role in where mines are located. Each county has a set of zoning requirements where they place land use type areas, and I believe this area is zoned for that mining, and the applicant went through that permitting process to be able to locate a mine there. Why they chose this specific area, I can speculate that there was good sand located here on tracks that were large enough to provide appropriate buffers for the surrounding community to be able to extract those resources, and they were located close enough to where those resources are needed. I understand that there's a fair amount of residential development in Daniel Island up Clemens Ferry Road, and maybe even some portion of that road, some lanes are being added. So the sand mined at sites such as these are used for construction of either residential development or road bed. I mean, it's good compactable material. So that typically is why a mine is located in a certain area.
Okay, thank you, Joe.
You're welcome.
I did want to take the opportunity. I'm not sure, Christy down there, if there have been some introductions or not, but I know that for some of the local questions about, the sewage and water, we do have staff from our local office who are in person there with you, I believe. Is that Wendy and John? And maybe if they could just stand up and just kind of let everybody know who they are. Certainly, if you have any questions, after the meeting about, the local issues with the sewage and the water access, they are there as well tonight.
Thank you, Donna. We did point them out at the start of tonight's meeting as well, and they're right here against the fence line for anyone who needs to speak to them tonight.
Okay, great. So I know that you have someone else there, Christy, who is ready to comment, but we'd like to jump to the phone lines first. So Laura?
Yes, thanks, Donna. There is, we've seen someone being unmuted. Is Miss Kathy Wright available? And I have a question. If so, feel free to unmute and state your name and feel free to ask a question. Ms. Kathy Wright.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Yeah, the question was about the same thing that Kenneth asked about the DHEC in the community. Why is it that they allow a permit to come in this community for them to do the for the mine, for the Donmar mine to be done? And I agree with him about the wells drying up, because where we located at, they did have some lines run where people got water and some people didn't. And to me, it was not fair. So why is it that they picked this area? Hello?
Thank you, Ms. Wright.
Yes, Ms. Wright, we hear you. So I believe that Joe had tried to address that question by answering that DHEC does not play a role in actually determining where the sites are located. What our role is once a site is chosen by an applicant, they then submit the applications to us for review and for us to see if they can comply with the appropriate regulations. So I didn't want you to think that DHEC had chosen this particular location. Does that answer your question? Ms. Wright, do you have a follow-up question?
Ms. Wright, you may need to unmute again. I'm sorry if you have a follow-up.
There you go. Go ahead, Ms. Wright.
I don't have another question.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. So, Christy, do you want to go ahead and have the next speaker come up and ask their question?
Thanks, Donna. We've got someone here right now.
Hi, this is Paula Forbes. I'm a resident out here in Hugie. Can y'all hear me? Do I need a microphone? Okay. My first question, I have a couple, if you don't mind. The first one is the original application was filed November 1st, 2017, right? That's what it says on what would be 15, picture 15. Is it 7 years from that date, which means we'll be done with this mine by 2024? Or is it a different date? Is it 2027? That's my first question. My second question is the runoff from that mine. If you look at this particular map, Constitution is full of houses. Our neighbors live out there. Y'all know Friary Park, Mr. Dickerson. They had a fish kill out there at their farm, and that's from the backwash from that mine. And now they want this whole area that borders Constitution to be a 30-acre mine. How is that not going to affect these people? That's our neighbors. How many mines do we have in 29450? This ain't the only one. I promise you, they're everywhere. The only area to develop the Tri-County area. This is about our quality of life. Mr. Jefferson, we appreciate you coming down here. We really do. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe that was.
Make sure we capture this.
Go ahead.
I believe that was Ms. Forbes. Is that correct, Christy?
Yes,
So I heard several questions in there, and I think that Joe is going to be the best person to address those. And I know it started off with the date for the mine, how long the mine will be in operation, and if that begins with from their original application date of November 21st of 2017. So I'd like Joe to get started with that question, and then we may need to ask Ms. Forbes for some clarification on the other questions about the number of mines in the area and the water runoff and the fish kill.
Okay, Donna, and thank you, Ms. Forbes, for that question. I think I could try to cover all of her questions, but the 7-year date would begin upon approval of this application. So, you know, if that were to happen in the year 2020, it would be late 27. But really, that 7-year time frame is just an estimate that we provide a reclamation schedule, an estimate of the life of mine. We permit mines for their life, and that schedule could be changed. And really, it's kind of based on the need. So if the need is great, that time frame could be less, and if the need slows down during that time frame, it could extend longer. So that would start upon approval of the application and permit issuance. The runoff, I believe I heard her say that the mine, maybe the general permit area where the cellular tower is located near Constitution Avenue, may have had some runoff concerns during its operation. That's something that we could certainly look into as far as historically if that had occurred, but I will say that they will no longer discharge there. The discharge location, and I don't have the advantage of a pointer given this technology, but in my presentation, I mentioned there was two currently permitted general permits, and the one that's more close to the corner of Charity Church and Highway 41 on this map, that would be that upper northeast corner. If you look diagonally across from there, there's kind of like a red node that comes out. That the discharge from this planned operation would go through that, would act as a settling basin, and then it would flow through those wetlands towards Constitution Avenue, and then on through that wetland network that eventually goes into French Quarter Creek. And again, they've estimated their output to be somewhere in the range of about 2 gallons a minute on average. So, you know, that's a fairly slow, steady flow. So I wouldn't anticipate any issues there. Again, if there has been concerns about a fish kill, we certainly would be, we would like to understand that information and see if it could be attributed to this current operation or proposed operation, if there are any details to share there.
Okay, thank you, Joe. So if Ms. Forbes had a follow-up question to that, I guess we could come back to her in a minute. If you had somebody else waiting, Christy or Laura, if we have somebody on the phone.
I wanted to see if maybe we could go back to Ms. Shanika Brown, if maybe she has joined us since we started. Ms. Brown, if you have joined us, you can unmute yourself by clicking the microphone icon or by using *6 if you're joining us by phone. I don't see any lines unmuting here. Donna, it might be a good opportunity to go to Christy to see if anyone there on site has any questions.
Okay, Christy, do you have someone else there that would like to ask a question?
We sure do, Donna. If you could introduce yourself, sir.
Fred Lincoln from the Men's Coalition. It's more of a comment more than a question. First of all, I want to show my appreciation for Sybil Mitchell, Ed Buford, and all the other members of this community who have, from day one, stuck in there and went through the total process. And I know how stressful that could be and how damaging that could be when you go before a committee and you don't feel like you have a snowball of a chance of winning the argument, no matter how articulate you are and how well versed you are on the subject. And we experienced that. And also I want to thank the Coastal Conservation League for have been in this community for the last 20 years when we have issues, and they have been there for us. What I want to speak on is that one of the gentlemen spoke about good soil. It just seems to me, what a coincidence that the good soil have happened to be at the mine at Jack Promise. The good soil happened to be at the mine at our community in Green Bay. And now the good soil is in Hughes. All these other communities have bad soil. We must realize, and DHEC is health and environmental control. And one of the most overlooked issues I think that DHEC and the rest of the society deal with. Injustice is a mental health issue. People are damaged when they believe when a mine application comes forward. 99% of the people in our community believe that if it's near us, it will happen. And if you were to move that mine somewhere else and they ask our community would say 99% would say it's not going to make it. So when you have those issues that's going in the community, they have to state another category. It's the mental health of a community, and that mental health is being damaged daily when so many issues, like you mentioned, that comes up, and we think we have the argument, but we lose. And I think we're reaching the point that we're tired of losing. Not losing when we know we can't be wrong on all issues. And we want DHEC to explain to us, they have in their data, where have they ever gone into a low-income area and deny a permit? And that we should have that on file for this community to see that have been fair dealing with our community. And if you could produce those documents, we feel like our community would feel like at least that it's not happening for every community. So my question is, why is it that, is it a coincidence that all these good soil happen to be in our community?
Thank you for that comment. Christy, I didn't quite catch that gentleman's name. Could we hear?
It was Mr. Lincoln. That was Mr. Lincoln, Donna.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Lincoln, thank you so much for bringing up that issue, and I think it's one that that we see and we hear quite often at DHEC, and so your concerns are not lost on us. We recognize that these are concerns that are in your community, and they're also in several other communities, many excuse me, many other communities in our state. And I thank you for bringing it up and giving us the opportunity to hear that from your perspective. And we certainly want to be able to connect with you even after this meeting and with others in your community, that maybe we could start talking about those issues, the holistic, all of these issues that you feel are in your community, that are affecting your community, and that maybe we could help, provide clarification on, or work with you to try and resolve, or to address them in some kind of way, because that is very important to us to be able to make that connection with you and do that, not only, tonight, but after this meeting as well. So I would encourage you to make sure that we have your contact information before you leave tonight, that we might can do that. Your question about something, any permit action that's been denied in a low income area, I don't know. I would have to ask you for some clarification on that, and as far as what type of permit action, if you meant just mining or on a larger scale, any type of industry that DHEC regulates. And I will say that, we may not have that information with us tonight, but if you can clarify that for us, we will certainly look into that if Joe doesn't have that data, tonight to be able to speak to.
So for some clarification, I believe they were looking at mining information.
Okay.
Mining permits.
Okay. So we can certainly gather some information together on the mines in the area, and we would love to talk with you more about that, Mr. Lincoln, if you're willing to do that with us after tonight. I don't know that we have that information, with us tonight that you're looking for.
Donna, this might be a good time to just remind everybody how important it was to register when you were coming in tonight. I know Jasmine and our friends from Coastal Conservation League were helping with that, and they're going to be sharing information with us that they collected as well. But we do encourage you to reach out to us and make sure that we can follow up with you with questions beyond tonight. This meeting is very important, and tonight is very important, but the conversations can continue beyond tonight as well. Donna, do you have someone else ready to speak, or would you like me to see who's here?
I will ask Laura if she sees anybody else on the phone line or online who would like to.
No other unmuted lines at this time, but I will let you know if we do see others. They want to go to the audience there.
Okay, go ahead, Christy.
I know we have another speaker coming up. I'm hearing this might have a little bit fuzzier reception and our tech team's in. Does that sound right? So, Ed, right? If you could stand here, I think we can try to capture you there.
Good evening. My name is Edward Beaufort Cutner.
Let's make sure they can hear you well, okay? For our tech team, can you hear me better without?
We could hear you a little bit better, but maybe we couldn't hear his name quite as clearly.
Okay. Can we get you to use a good outside voice for us from right here?
Okay.
Sure. Let's see if we can try this.
My name is Edward Beaufort Cutner. I'm a resident of Fuji, generationally. At 76 years old, my great-grandparents were slaves here in this, and I am a active member with the BCCOC, and I'm also a member of the Men's Coalition that has been active in this fight for the past several years now. I'd like to address Mr. Coons first. We talk about the quality of life. If Mr. Coons saw any of the quote ponds, that was a beautiful picture that was displayed as a reclamation project as a pond. But the ponds that we have around here are sludge piles. They're dangerous for children. Nothing grows in them along the banks. There's no greenery. Wildlife is non-existent because it was a habitat for them. Birds don't fly, rats, mosquitoes don't fly around them. And they are an eyesore to a community that is pretty much the federal government, through Francis Marion Forest, owns about 70% of the property in these communities. This community has no place to grow, especially when you give permit to Donmar to decimate 30 acres at a time. Now, during the past 2 years, Donmar never mentioned once at the county hearings when they attended, and we attended some 18 or 20 meetings, that they wanted to mine 30 acres. They were talking about 5 acres. And if I'm wrong, anybody, please correct me. And as soon as they have a opportunity, when they said they had an agreement from the county, they went to 30 acres as a permit request from DHEC. In my opinion, DHEC's first obligation to find out just what it was that Donmar's history was in this community, and what did the community have to say about it. Not 6 months hence, when we had to invoke legislative representation to get this meeting. That was a slap in the face to this community. When you talk about quality of life, we're pretty much an aged community, and I say aged. At 76, I'm on the lower quarter of my life, hopefully, to make the 100 years. It's not a viable place where we can look for our grandchildren and great-grandchildren to be when DHEC grants corporate interests, which I believe that DHEC maintains a symbiotic relationship with by nature of how you have to operate, by granting them 30-acre plots of property to just devour in our community.
And Mr. Coons, I don't know how long you've been involved in the business of mining and oversight, but you should tour this community. Look at some of the mining operations that have been there, and you don't have to travel very far. Within 5 miles of here, there's 6 or 7 of them, and there's absolutely nothing, and I repeat, nothing that you can do constructively with it. You can't sell it, you can't farm it, you can't hunt it, you can't fish it, you can't even breathe around some of them. I spoke to a resident earlier this evening. She said that the water that she gets, because it's well water, smells like rotten eggs coming out of your faucet. Now, when you talk about county water being available, within a half mile here, right across the road, there's no county water available to people that there's 15 or 20 houses in that lane. Along the route going back on Cainhoy Road, there are places where there's no water. Strategically, it appears that county water has been placed where development arises. Okay? Now, DHEC has a fiduciary responsibility, a legal responsibility, and a human decency responsibility to deal with issues like that. It doesn't matter that you should not have a good working relationship with mining interests, but mining relationships and the administration of government can run into it being a conflict when you look around at a community like this and people are not enjoying the quality of life that they're entitled to. And I say they're entitled to, not by law, but by the Creator. And I say again, by the Creator. He gave us the earth, He gave us the environment, the atmosphere, and how dare we let the simple matter of profit destroy that. Now, I have some other comments. What if you do grant this permit to Donmar? What's the enforcement? When's the last time a mine's been closed down? I'm not done yet, Chrissy.
I just want to make sure we
yeah.
all this question.
When's the last time a mine's been closed down because of failure to perform or because of violation of DHEC's regulation? I'd like to have that answer. The other thing is DHEC waives the fact that they had a settlement at county level in December. They did, but I can tell you this. The map that you produce up there, it's not accurate. It's phony. They said new access. That new access is a railroad track that runs right through it, and they do not have a permit for it. And in the 32 miles of railroad from Codeville down to Nucor Steel, there's only 3 authorized crossings. And I don't believe that Donmar Mine will ever get a permit as a corporate interest to cross the railroad track. Because if they do, along that 32 miles, I know 25 property owners that a third of their property is junk because they can't cross the railroad track to mine it, to farm it, or to get timber from it. So when DHEC is looking at enforcement and their responsibility, what are you doing about that? Why do you let Donmar produce a document, I'll call it a document, a drawing like that, to say that it's free access? They still use Charity Church Road as the access for the Foreman Charity Church mining. And I don't set up surveillance there, but over the months as I passed by, I've taken 30 or 40 pictures of dump trucks going in and out of there. What has DHEC done about that? Donmar said that they would make tap fees for the people who were affected in that 2,500-foot bumper around the mine. They did, but what they did was the people that I spoke to who did take advantage of it, Donmar paid $2,500 for each family, and the family had to pick up the other $850. If a family is hurt because Donmar has mining interests there, they should pay the entire amount, the full $3,300 for the connection fee. And that's not something that we're going to let die. And I tell all of you who may have had to pay the $850, we're going to revisit that. I think that Mr. Coons, and I'm speaking to you because he's a project manager, he's the muckety muck, right? That you really need to get out, put your people to work, and look and find out exactly what it is that mining has done to this community. Mining is literally sinking this community into a hole. Thank you.
So I want to make sure there's several questions in there, Donna. Do we have those recorded, and can Joe help respond to some of those?
I think we do, but before we do that, I apologize. My hearing is so bad. Did you catch that gentleman's name? I want to make sure that we know who he is.
Yeah, Donna is Edward Beaufort, Beaufort.
Thank you so much. So yeah,
no, okay. Beaufort Cutno. Thank you.
So I did hear several questions in there. One about the permit acreage. How familiar is DHEC staff with the site and with the proximity to the local community and the ponds and everything that is on site there. I also heard there being some concerns about limited water access and about the 5-acre versus 30-acre request made by Donmar. I also heard a question about enforcement and when was the last time that DHEC closed a mine due to them not following the regulations and the requirements in their permit. And then I also had heard some concern about the drawings that we have there on site as well as in the presentation with whether or not they are accurate or inaccurate. So I think for most of those questions, Joe can address those. So I'll say that it was a lot. So we'll let him get started, and then if we need to ask again, if we've answered all those, we'll come back to Mr. Edward for that. So Joe, would you like to begin with those?
Sure. Thank you for those, Mr. Edward. Where to begin? There's a lot of questions there. So I have had the opportunity to visit mines in Berkeley County. And, this map that is currently displayed on the screen, we generated this map for discussion purposes for this meeting. The map that's further in the presentation is the engineered map provided by Donmar. So I just would like to point out that, the mines located within this boundary are still in development, but you can look up to the northwest at some ponds there. I think his opening statement was that the ponds being developed in the area were unusable. They were muddy, in some other terms he may have used, but in this aerial photo that I see in front of me, those ponds up to the northwest, those are previously permitted areas that have been released as reclaimed mine land, and they look like decent ponds to me. We have Jonathan Suma on the line tonight as well. He is the primary inspector in the area, and we had a gentleman that is retired from DHEC that worked out of the Charleston office for some 30 years. So, I feel like we have a pretty good handle on the mines. And, I'd like to even go back to the comment previous to Mr. Edwards about, why these mines are located where they're at. And, some areas, maybe it was speculated that in some other areas we deny permits, and we don't deny permits here. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and say that we don't deny permits very often in general. By the time a application comes to DHEC, and I think this application is a great example, it's been through a more than 2-year process with the county, and the county has, decides where mines are located within their county. And again, mines are located where there is good material and a good market for that material. And, we have a lot of mines in both in Berkeley, Dorchester, and Charleston County in a variety of different communities. When I say we don't deny them, most of these applicants are familiar with our permitting process, and if we come across in our review process for reasons to deny, and we let them know that there are aspects of their application that would force us to deny their permit, then most of the time they're going to adjust that application so that we wouldn't have to take the step to deny it. And quality of life has been mentioned by both this gentleman and the previous commenter. Our regulations don't really get into those issues. Those are more applicable at the county level, and zoning is a great tool to control what types of land uses can be done in what areas of the county. So I think that may have covered a couple of the questions he had. He asked about enforcement. So it's our goal to inspect all these mines at a minimum on an annual basis. And if we are having compliance issues with one of our mine sites, then we're going to inspect that on a more frequent basis. And we do have an compliance and enforcement process. And we have several mines that are going through that process. And have we shut mines down? Sure. We've issued cease and desist orders in the past, and we'll do so in the future as needed. So that is our responsibility and our obligation to ensure these mines are operating in a compliant manner with the regulations that we have to work with. That new access road was mentioned. Again, that's just an estimation. I will say that this overlay on this aerial photo is based off of the engineered survey. They will have to get an encroachment permit by the railroad company and by the South Carolina DOT to build that new road, but that new road is a requirement of any permit decision we would make, and it's a requirement of the settlement agreement with the county. Now, those old entrances are also shown on this map, and those two general permits, they can still utilize those entrances until this new permit would be issued. At that point in time, they would no longer be able to use those old entrances, but currently they're permitted to use those. Let's see. The tap fee was mentioned. That is a agreement condition with the county. I can't speak really to the particulars of how that money is, what determination process has gone through to determine how that money is spent. The county would be the best place to find out some details on that. We have been provided a copy of that, and we've been provided a summary from the applicant's consultant of those conditions. So I do see that there is an escrow account with funds available to be used to assist folks with tapping into the county water supply if they so choose. So again, I would encourage that the specifics of that would not be under our jurisdiction or management. So I would encourage that any of that type of information, you contact the county for that. So I don't know what I'm missing at this point.
Okay. Thank you, Joe. I think you covered most everything, but maybe I don't know if there's anything that you could add in regards to the general permits that were previously issued for the 5 acres, and then what is being proposed now, and and just go over once again, when those permits were issued and what they were issued for, and why this new permit is now being requested.
Sure. Those general permits one was issued in 2016 and one in 17, and they can both be downloaded and viewed from our website. Those issuance letters are there available for download. So the general permit, very similar to the Bureau of Water general permit, is a permit that when it is developed, the permit itself goes out on notice to many stakeholders across the state. The counties get an opportunity to comment on it. Non-governmental organizations such as the Coastal Conservation League and others get to comment on it. Department of Natural Resources, State Historic Preservation Office, many of our state agencies get to comment on it. And so those comments are considered and incorporated into that general permit, and then it's finalized. And then at that point moving forward, what we do is grant coverage under that permit. So at that point in time, each coverage granted is not placed on public notice. Now, they still have to meet certain criteria that was developed through that initial public notice process. So those 5 acre areas are limited to 5 acres. They're limited to 20-foot depth. No processing of material is allowed. And those in the 8 coastal zone counties have to go through the coastal zone consistency determination and be determined to be consistent. And then they also have to get their stormwater non-metal mineral mining discharge permit. So they have to meet the conditions with the OCRM certification. They have to meet our conditions of our permit, and they have to meet the conditions of the discharge permit. And you know, they aren't public noticed individually, but now that what is being proposed is that they're proposing to put an individual permit that incorporates those footprints. And if we decide to approve that, then we would cancel those general permits, and all that land would then be under the jurisdiction of the individual permit. So I hope that clarifies that.
Thank you, Joe. I think it does. And I believe, Christy, it looks like it's getting a little bit dark there, but do you have some others who would like to come up and ask a question?
I believe Edward wanted to add a little something to his previous question.
Mr. Kuhn, and I'll address you because you are the top dog, so to speak. I just found out, and correct me, Donmar, if I'm wrong, that there's no one here from Donmar tonight. And this has been a consistent with the community feels the disrespect to us when we have an issue that they are the anchor for. They're the people that are stirring the pot. They failed to come to the council about 90% of the time over the 2-year period that we had hearings on their permit. And tonight, unless there's someone here from Donmar, hold your hand up, there's no one here. How much more disrespect can you show a community when a community is talking about its quality of life? And when are you playing to someone from DHEC?
No, sir.
Oh, okay. So no one from DHEC is here tonight. I'm sorry, DHEC, Donmar. I'm sorry, the symbiotic relationship I'm thinking of. But no one from Donmar is here. What do you make of that? I would imagine that it should be important to them if they felt that this community was meaningful at all. They can give 2 damns about our quality of life. And I think this should be a very resounding and deafening silence to DHEC that Donmar is not here. And you're the state agency that is going to be regulating them. The other thing is that I think, Mr. Coons, the 2 gallons per minute, that's not the way the water flows. My understanding is they release it once at a time. So you've got 2,800 gallons of water, and I don't know anyone's there measuring with the 2, gushing out at one time. And that's a tremendous force going back into the ground source of water. Thank you.
Mr. Edward, thank you for that comment, and we can certainly hear your frustration. And I think that we've heard some of it, leading up to this meeting, and the frustration with the county's process, and just all around frustration that I think it sounds to me is rooted in just the feeling of disrespect that your community has, and we hear that, and we can't speak for for what the county has done or what Donmar has done in the past. But what we can say is we are here tonight. This meeting was planned and is being held specifically to hear from your community because it does matter to us. And I just really hope that you, as you go away from this meeting tonight, that you will recognize that DHEC wants to continue a conversation with not only you, but with anyone else who is interested there in your community. You have questions that that you want answers to, and that's valid. And we may not have all of the answers, and we may not have the answers that you want to hear, but we do have the people who care and who want to listen to you and want to make sure that you feel you have a place in our process, just like the county does and just like Donmar does. So we hear you, and I thank you sincerely for bringing these issues forward in this setting for others to hear, so that we are all aware of what your community is feeling right now, because it is valid and we do appreciate it.
Donna, I do see a hand raised. It looks like we do have some representatives from the Donmar company here. If you are able to unmute, that would be just by clicking the microphone on your computer, and go ahead.
We just want to say we are here, the engineer, the owner, and the attorney for Donmar. And we are listening to what you're saying, and we are taking notes to respond to what you're saying. And we have been at every single meeting at Berkeley.
So thank you for that. Could you please give us your name?
Kevin Coffey.
Kevin Coffey. That's right. We called on you initially at the beginning of the meeting, I remember. So thank you.
Yes, no problem.
You for that. Laura, do we have anybody else who has unmuted?
No, but we do have a post in the meeting chat. Ms. Kathy Wright has posted, "We know you are hearing us, but there is no result or action shown that you all are helping us by stop digging mines."
Okay, thank you, Ms. Wright, for typing that question in. I am glad to hear that you do feel like you're being heard tonight. And like I said before, we may not always have the answer that you want to hear, or that a lot of communities want to hear. And unfortunately, that's the bad part of what DHEC does, is that sometimes, we don't have a direct role in some of these issues that are being brought forward. But that doesn't mean that, that we can't still talk to you and kind of be a bridge between you and the company if you feel like you want to do more of that, to be able to find some common ground. So I know that that's very frustrating for you, and for us not to be able to say, well, we hear you and we're not going to allow this mine. And unfortunately, DHEC, we can't do that, but we can talk to you, we can hear those concerns, and we can most definitely follow up with you and see what other ground we may be able to gain throughout this process. Joe, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Sure. I mean, we appreciate you guys reaching out to us. We've been available throughout this whole time frame to hear comments or concerns, certainly available to talk with anybody on the phone. And, we are limited by what our regulatory guidelines tell us and what we can and cannot consider. And that is the reality of it. But that doesn't mean we can't still have a conversation. And if there are things that we can discuss with the applicant to condition the permit in a way that it is more accepted by the community and would not impact the quality of life in this community, then please continue to let us know, and just please know that I'm available at any point in time And it's unfortunate that we couldn't all get together in person due to the pandemic out there. But again, I'm available by phone, and we'll certainly consider any concerns.
Well, and do we still have Christy? Do you still have Representative Jefferson there?
He is here, and we do have, I believe, 4 people who've indicated they want to share a comment or question as well. So as the sun is setting, I want to make sure that we're able to capture those questions and concerns tonight too, Donna.
Yeah, absolutely. So please go ahead.
My name is Vernell Dickerson. I'm with the Wando Hughes CDC. First of all, we shouldn't even be here. Berkeley County formed the Department of Planning and Zoning. Once Planning and Zoning denied the application, accordingly, as I have attended other meetings in Moncks Corner, they had to wait for another year. Planning and Zoning determines what goes where. However, they went to Berkeley County Council, and we went there for almost 2 years, fighting them back and forth, back and forth. And at the very end, we lost. But Berkeley County also knew that they were going to pass it when Donmar decided to start a road that they never used. I have photos up until today. I have photos from in the past where the trucks are coming from the Donmar mine. They said they don't use Charity Church. I have photos to prove that they are using Charity Church Road. The road they cut off of 41, they have a load of, I don't know, debris. So they don't even use that road. They also said, and that was one of the concessions that they said, the settlement, that they would not be using Charity Church Road. That is not true. They use from one end to the other. There are potholes that they were supposed to have taken care of. They haven't done that. Someone who was visiting, his tire got busted out, blew out because of a pothole in the road. So Berkeley County, they pass the Donmar, but they don't follow up. They don't enforce Donmar to do what they said they would do. How do the community trust DHEC that DHEC would follow up and make sure Donmar does what they said they're going to do? And to clarify what Mr. Lincoln was saying about the low-income area, being politically correct, it is the minority areas. So, Mr. Kuhn, that would help you with your research when you check the minority areas where all of these sand mines are being. Green Bay, Jack Primus, and several other areas. They're all minority. It's a very sensitive issue, but it's an issue that needs to be brought to the front. We cannot keep it behind us anymore because the climate now let us know there is an issue. And we have our land destroyed. Our homes are becoming less and less valuable because when you go down Charity Church Road, anyone coming into the community, they would not want to build a $500,000 home or even a $250,000 home anywhere in that area. We have a subdivision over on 41, but then they are away from Charity Church. It's an eyesore for the community. Everyone speaks about the quality of life. When the pandemic started and everything shut down, I had birds throughout my yard. I had to buy feed by the 25-pound bags. because the birds could breathe. The people could breathe. The trees were breathing. Now Donmar started back, but birds are limited. Mary Buford Cutner, I send her pictures. I post pictures on Facebook about the birds I've never seen. Sand mines is not a good quality of life for humans nor the animals. So please, you need to really look at that and see the areas where these mines are going and let your heart be your guide. That's
Thank you, Ms. Dickerson, for those comments. Christy, I see it's getting darker as we speak. So did you have somebody else in line there to speak?
Yeah, as we bring someone up, I think there was that question about the use of Charity Church Road and also about, I guess, impacts of wildlife being considered. So maybe as we bring up the next speaker, if y'all want to touch on that.
Sure, I can touch on that again. So again, the new entrance road will be required if we approve this permit application. So the current previously permitted 5-acre general mine permits are still active, and they're still allowed to use those old entrances. And so the outcome of the Berkeley County process, in order to expand the mine beyond those 2 5-acre areas, which they have not done yet, they will be required to use the new entrance road. But until they can't expand it without the DHEC's approved permit, at that point in time, those old roads would cease to be used. And so the other comment was wildlife. I will say that as part of our permitting process, we engaged the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources. And we did not have any comments or concerns about endangered species, endangered or threatened species that would be impacted in this area. Generally, common wildlife adjust very well to mined areas. It's been my experience that I've seen many forms of wildlife in active mine areas and reclaimed mine areas. And, you know, given the fact that of the 140 acres being proposed here, 101 acres will remain undisturbed buffer, you know, habitat for wildlife will remain and otherwise be temporarily displaced in the active areas.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Ms. Dickerson, if you had a follow-up question after we hear from the next several people that are there, we'll be glad to come back to you.
Hi, my name is Jeannie Murphy, and I live in the community. Not as long as most of you have, but I'm here to support you, my neighbors. And I'm a little late to the game, so I'm a little bit behind on some of these issues. I have a quick comment and a quick question. First of all, I see no benefit for our community. I see increased truck traffic on an already terribly busy section of Highway 41 and a dangerous section of 41 where we've seen multiple fatalities, some of the people whom I knew personally and worked with. We hear about runoff now going through the wetlands into French Quarter Creek. That does not sound like a good thing to me. I don't know how that could possibly be considered good. The roads are terrible. Charity Church Road, both sides of 41, is nothing but potholes. Highway 41 is nothing but potholes. They patch them, they immediately fall back in. I don't know why. I'm not an engineer, but something's not right with that. So those are my comments. I see no benefit to our community with this mine. My question, because I am late to the game, is
the concessions. I don't know what these concessions were. Is there someone that can run through them quickly, or is there somewhere on the DHEC site or somewhere on the Berkeley County site where those of us who aren't aware of them can access them? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Murphy. I believe that was Ms. Murphy.
Yes.
So I believe the question that she is asking, Joe, is maybe the concessions that were made and the early on in the process with the county. I don't know how much knowledge you have of that particular process or what we might be able to provide in that regard.
Well, we certainly have those summarized by the Mr. Kevin Coffey, who spoke on behalf of Donmar, provided a summary of those conditions of the settlement agreement to us. So they are in our file, and it is public information. You know, so that's something that we could share through our Freedom of Information process. I mean, I have a summary of 17 conditions that are all several sentences long. So I don't know that we have time tonight to go through them all. I could highlight a few if that would benefit.
Well, Christy, how many people do you have who would still like to comment there?
We do have two more, Donna, so
okay.
These two.
So maybe we can look into that on our end, Miss Murphy, and see, you know, if that's, you know, how would be the best mechanism to get that information out there for you and for others in the community. And I know we'll be providing some follow-up to this meeting, so online through email. So if it's okay with you, we will look into that and see if that's something that perhaps we can post on our webpage or facilitate some other way for you to get a copy of that. So, Christy, do you want to go ahead with the next?
Yeah, howdy y'all. My name is Riley Egger. I am a land, water, and wildlife project manager with the Coastal Conservation League. First and foremost, I want to say that the Conservation League stands with the Hugie community who have been fighting to preserve their quality of life and the character of the community for nearly 3 years now. And if the Donmar mine expansion is to move forward, I asked the Donmar operator to strongly consider the concessions that were laid out in Representative Jefferson's August 25th letter. In that letter, we asked them to conserve part of the land. We asked them to fund the revitalization of a nearby park. And we asked them to offset the cost of lighting along Charity Church Road and Highway 41. I ask you to strongly consider these concessions, Mr. Mazzarella and Mr. Coffey, to show that you are listening to the community, that you care about the community, and that you respect the community in which you're profiting from. So my question is, have you guys received that letter, and will you commit to working with this community to address some of those quality of life concerns?
Thank you, Riley, for that comment. You know, we really wanted to keep the focus of this meeting on DHEC's answers, but it looks to me like we do, Laura, is that correct? We do have someone from Donmar who would like to address that?
Yes, they have their hand raised.
Yes, this is John Mazzarella with Donmar Sand Mines. I don't recall receiving the letter, but we'd be more than happy to take a look at it and work with you on a resolution.
Thank you for that. So maybe, Riley, you can make sure that a copy of that letter is forwarded on to Donmar. I know that you had some communication with them prior to this meeting, so perhaps you could send a copy of that by email to them.
John, this is Representative Jefferson. I sent you a copy of this letter about 2 weeks ago. and I sent you the exact copy again this morning. I emailed you a copy this morning. Have you not been in your office, or did you not have access to your email? It was sent to you.
Yes, sir. I have constant access to my email, and I have not received any letter. I apologize. But I do not have it.
I sent you one this morning. And of course, it's gotten dark out here. But if you check your email, you'll see that one was sent to you this morning, and one was mailed to you about 2, possibly 3 weeks ago. But anyway, we'll send you another one.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Jefferson. And thank you too. Go ahead, Christy.
I was gonna say, go ahead, and we do have one more person ready to speak when you get to a stopping point.
Okay, I was just gonna thank Representative Jefferson, because I'm sure that you already have, Christy, but on behalf of all of us in Columbia, we surely do appreciate you, Representative Jefferson, for being involved in this issue, and certainly for joining us tonight and being there at the in-person option and staying with us to hear these concerns. So we really do appreciate your participation tonight. So go ahead, Christy, with your next.
He says the pleasure is all his, and I will turn that over to our next speaker. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm Joseph Forbes. I've moved out to Hugie in 2003. So I've been here for quite a few years, and I've seen the devastation these mines have caused. It wasn't until probably about 10 years ago that mines started really taking impact, and over the last few years, it's just getting worse and worse and worse. Taken as a singular, the mines aren't so bad. You know, we can dig 1 5-acre hole, and we can live with it. But it's when that 1 5-acre hole becomes another 5-acre hole, which becomes another 5-acre hole, which becomes another 5-acre hole. The next thing you know, we've got holes all over the place. We've got stagnant water. We have mosquitoes. We have West Nile. We have moccasins. We have alligators. We have a mess. My question to DHEC is, does DHEC take a look at the aggregate of the mines that are in a community and assess how much damage is being done by having multiple mines right on top of each other? Yes, you can look at it on Google Maps. I do it all the time. I keep track of how many mines we got out here. I check how big these mines are, and I'm sitting there doing my little calculations, and I can tell you about what the size is. But you take a look at these mines from the air, it looks great. It looks like it'd be a great place to go fishing. Go walk the one and see what it looks like. Thank you.
So Donna, did y'all get that question about looking at the cumulative impact of multiple mines in an area from Mr. Forbes?
Sorry, my microphone was muted. Yes, we did hear that, and I was just asking to confirm the name of that gentleman.
That was Mr. Forbes.
Mr. Forbes. So I know, Julie, that it's a little bit difficult for you all there to talk directly with us and to talk with the community members who are there, but I know that you've got Julie there with you, and I think that she might be able to speak to this issue, the cumulative effects, and how.
Well, I want to address more. Go ahead. So first of all, again, I'm Julie Blaylock. I'm the Assistant Bureau Chief in the Bureau of Land and Waste Management, and I want to apologize earlier because I broke one of my mother's cardinal rules. Don't ever speak into a speaker with your back to a crowd. So I apologize because that's not how I was raised, but I hear what you're saying tonight, and I just want to say that Joe and our staff, they do not have an easy job. As he said, we are limited by regulations, and there are many variables and moving parts to permitting mines. I think when Southern Living, Garden and Gun, all these other magazines said Charleston was the #1 place to live, people took it to heart and they started moving down here. And since we've seen the explosion in development in this area, Joe and his folks, Donna and I, we've been to numerous meetings. You're here tonight because you love your community and you're passionate about it. And Representative Jefferson is here tonight because he's passionate about it. We are bound to permit these mines, and there is no looking at what we call cumulative effects. That really is more of a land use and zoning. And if the county is allowing these mines and says that they're consistent with their zoning and local planning, we have to take their word for it. But what y'all do have as a voice is you have Representative Jefferson and you have the State House, and regulations can be changed. If there are concessions that you need, regulations, I came from a solid waste background. Nobody really ever likes to see a landfill in their backyard either. We've made changes to regulations over the year, and Representative Jefferson, he stands behind y'all. I mean, I can hear it from the letter he's written. So if there are some concerns, let it be heard at the State House too, because we do make amendments to the regulations, and we do have statutory changes based on things like this. So with that, I would say don't just look at it as just one mine, because as you mentioned, the land is cheaper the further out. I mean, it is so expensive to buy any property on the peninsula. We've been to mine sites in Awanda where people there also had their beautiful piece of country life, and they feel like there are tons of mines there. Y'all mentioned Green Bay. So if you want to see changes so that, the cumulative effect, talk to your representatives, talk to your legislators, and let's get some changes made in our regulations. I just wanted to make that point because development's going to keep coming in this area. Like I said, everybody loves living down here, and with development comes the need for dirt and road construction and things like that these mines help supply. So with that, just know that there are other avenues to make changes to regulations and get different requirements to account for such things as cumulative, numbers of mines and things like that. So thank you.
Thank you, Julie. So we are coming up on 8:30, so we have been with you for about 2 hours now. I don't want to leave out anyone there with you, Christy, who would like to comment. I do want to check with Laura and see if there's anyone on a phone line that would like to ask a question.
No, I don't see any unmuted lines.
Okay, thank you. Christy, do you have anyone else there?
I see a lot of fans in motion, and I see one last hand, I believe, and let's see if we can. Abel, would you like to come back? As we bring up one more commenter, again, I just want to remind everybody that there are ways to continue to talk to DHEC and provide this information even beyond tonight as well.
My name is Sybil Mitchell, and I asked this question initially, and I feel that it's important to ask the question again. And the initial question was, what quality of life elements does DHEC see and believe constitute that quality of life? And if you're able to define that quality of life element or elements, how is that constructed within the mission statement of DHEC? Tell me what a quality of life is to DHEC, and how does the mission statement ensures that quality of life? They're key elements, and I need to know that you all understand what they are, because we're very clear about what they are. Air, water, the environment, the healthy animals, the children living where they need to live healthily, traffic in our community, noise pollution, you name it, it's there. And I think each and every one of us who are sitting here tonight understands every human being is entitled to a good quality of life. It shouldn't matter about your ethnicity. It shouldn't matter about your age. It should matter about where everyone in here desires that. And everyone virtually listening also desires that. So if you who are living in those communities for which you are not being impacted by a mine or a proposed mine, then tell me how you would feel if you were consistently having this type of conversation as we are consistently having. I assure you, none of you would be okay with it. That's why we're not okay with it. Our community is not expendable. March 2020 was the time frame in which the initial timeline was given in order for a comment period. March 2020 was when the country's on lockdown for COVID. How could we possibly have participated efficiently when we are in lockdown? So to attempt to have a period in which that comment would have taken place was an indication to us that you did not really care what we thought, how we felt, and what our community should even look like or be preserved. Our community, and I say this again, our community is not expendable, and quit making decisions as if somehow we are.
Thank you again. Again, I do know that tonight is really important for DHEC. We're here because we wanted to connect with the community. We want to hear from the community members. We want to have an opportunity to listen. That's why we made an agenda that was more Q&A than presentation, and it's certainly been a valuable conversation. I know for me, and I believe for the other DHEC staff that are here virtually and in person. So we really appreciate everyone's dedication to being here. And again, it's important for us to get comments from you. And that comment period is going to continue. Donna, make sure I'm getting this right, for another 2-week period. Is that through September 16th? And there are ways to continue the conversation beyond tonight. Donna, you had something?
I was just going to say that's correct, that September 16th is correct.
Yeah. So I believe we've shared copies of this presentation with you. We can please get in touch with us. There are ways to have conversations with Mr. Kuhn, with Joe Kuhn, who's been speaking frequently tonight, with Haley, who's part of the project manager for this permit decision. And you can certainly continue to reach out to us as well. So I want to encourage you that tonight's not the only opportunity to ask those questions and share concerns. We've heard a lot of concerns about the access road, about compliance and enforcement, about wildlife, about private well, water quality, and these are important for us to hear in our role, because community engagement is a big part of what DHEC's mission is, especially on the environmental affairs side. So again, tonight's been a great partnership effort to come together here tonight in a time of pandemic. And you've each been outside because that is safer than inside, and we've been socially distant, and we have seen the sunset. We have had the cicadas chirp in. I think there may have been a mosquito or two, because everybody was dedicated to being part of this conversation, and DHEC is as well. And so I want you to please make sure you know that even as we close this virtual meeting tonight, there are ways to continue to have those questions, comments, and concerns shared with us in conversation. I think we may have one more comment.
Thank you. Despite how it may appear, I want to thank DHEC for being tolerant and enduring, and let's hope they do the right thing in the decision making. But more importantly, I want to thank our community. You know, I know it's a difficult time for us to come out and be out, but COVID will be over. We don't want our community and our way of life to be over. That each of us here are 4, 5, 10 generations deep, and that's worthwhile taking the risk for. Many of us go to war. Many of us will serve again tomorrow. So if we will do that for our nation, what will we not do for our community? And keep that in mind. Service is for everyone, right? And you folks know who or what I am as one of your 2 main community spokesmen. But when you go to the poll with Representative Jefferson decides to vote again, get him back in, because he has been here in this community more than some of our locally elected officials have been over the 2-year fight that we've had. And my hat's off to you, Representative Jefferson, and thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that. So, Christy, if you don't have anyone else there, I know you're in the dark. Want to just check back with Laura and make sure that we don't have anybody on the line or in the chat.
I don't see anyone. There is a question in the chat relating to the new entrance road and what the status is of that entrance road. I don't know if we have time to go back to that and speak to that. Is that something Joe could mention, or would we like to get some more information and get back to this person that's asking this?
Yeah, I feel like that was that Joe had addressed that, but Mr. Johnson, I'm not sure if he addressed it completely for you. What I would ask would be that if you want to unmute your line real quick. If not, we can certainly follow up with you if you have any other questions about that. Okay. So I'm hoping when Mr. Johnson registered, we have his phone number, but certainly, Mr. Johnson, you have our contact information. If you have some more questions, feel free to give us a call and let us know. We'll be glad to.
He's asking, actually, Donna, he's posting that he's looking for a time frame on the status of the new entrance.
I would answer that the same way I have. The new road will be used if the permit is approved. If it's not approved, it'll never be used unless it's used for another purpose. So the county required the new road as part of the mine expansion. So if the mine is not expanded, so that I can't give a time frame because I don't know exactly when a permit decision will be made. But I know that the settlement agreement happened some time ago. And so it'll be used at the appropriate time when all the appropriate permits are obtained.
If they're obtained.
If they're obtained, yes.
Okay. So, Christy, did you have anyone else there that wanted to?
Yeah, we do have a lot of people starting to break up the meeting, but
Okay.
if there's another comment, we can either, if you would like to record it into this, or we can capture that independently, whatever's best for you.
Sure. What did you want to say?
Yes, I want to say something.
Okay.
My name is Carrie Bennett.
Okay, we might need to speak up a little bit, Ms. Bennett.
My name is Carrie Bennett, and I live on Constitution Avenue. So I am really affected by the operation of the mine. I was told to drill a well, they would give me $2,500. As a low income, it takes more than $2,500 because Mitcham Well charges $35. Not only that, I think DHEC should try to help beautify the potholes with flowers, mums, azaleas, plants that would make us feel a lot better. I think besides the value of the land and the homes going down, when you look at something I was living in worth $225,000, now it's a mess from all the shaking from those heavy equipments. Somebody needs to pay for the damages, not only to the home, but to the individual, because it causes stress. We concerned about DHEC, but are we concerned about the children going back to school when there are some people out here in Hughie don't have water, don't have lights? And I know our council person, Steve Davis, for this district has been trying to help and answer questions. So no one should overlook him, nor the congressman. But what we need to do is get out and vote. We talk about the ponds. Okay. I don't see any place to fish where we had a bridge. People used to go out there. Sister Bennett used to go out there with a pole and fish and catch fish. Now who's going to eat contaminated fish? I think DHEC need to look at the livestock, and we need to be more concerned about not just development with these large houses being built around us, taxation without representation. That's what it looks like to me. If everybody with money come from a large area or from a different city, hey, when time for tax, they're going to tax the poor people out just to keep bread on their table. Thank God, for one reason, the COVID, we need to thank God and ask him to find a cure, because it doesn't make any sense to me to send a child to school and he or she is contaminated by her teacher. I need some answers.
Thank you, Ms. Bennett. So
Yes.
I think what we may want to do, and I want to make sure we capture your comments as well, is Donna, can we take some brief comments, and then let's make sure we can do some follow-up after this meeting as well with these nice women who are here at the end of the meeting, okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Just make sure that we get their contact information. But go ahead, whoever you had next.
Hi, my name is Kai Ellington. I live on the in the Frost Corner, which is pretty much in the crosshairs of where the Donmar mines are. And it's just living within it. It's just been an eyesore, like a lot of people have been saying. Just seeing it, knowing that they want to expand where our homes are even further, further destroying the land, not really being concerning of what we're going through, providing even more traffic, more of a mess, and just possibly people getting hurt. I just don't see that as being an acceptable way of living and something DCAT could just allow to be. And I don't understand why Donmar can't just go to an area where there's nobody, to where they can continue, do a new set of mining. This is just way too much in a small community like this. It's something where I just hope all of the comments that people have made here tonight doesn't go on deaf ears. It's just completely ignored to saying, oh, thank you for your comment, but we're going to do it anyway. They're going to permit it anyway. I don't want the comments to go unheard. So I would like to have some kind of clarification, knowing that this is definitely going to be highly considered and that it really could turn the tide of not letting the mines continue and them ceasing operations once their permit's completely over, to where they can't continue again. And like I said, there's some kind of beautification effect to make up for what they've done. I just want to know something is being acknowledged for this community, and like I said, it's not going to waste with what everybody is trying to stand up for. So that's what I like to know. But I do thank you for your time, for listening to everybody. And like I said, I hope things will go into community's favor. Thank you so much for your time.
I just want to make sure we get your contact information. If you could hold on 1 second. So Donna, I know y'all need to end our virtual portion of the meeting. I'm going to be following up with our last speaker, and thanks to everyone who's been able to join us in person tonight.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you, Christy. I know the South Carolina heat, it can be tough, and especially in the area there where you are. So we certainly extend our appreciation to everyone for being there tonight and for letting us hear your comments, and for sharing your information with us so that we can do some follow-up after tonight. So with that, I am going to go ahead and cover the last, kind of the next steps of what DHEC does in the permitting process. I think that we all recognize here that, along with this, that there will need to be some follow-up with the community there based on some of the comments that we've heard tonight. And we certainly are flexible about being able to have some follow-up conversations and provide some feedback in addition to the next steps that are already outlined. So just to clarify that again, DHEC will accept written comments on the proposed mine through September 16th of 2020. Once the public comment period closes, DHEC will review and consider all comments received prior to making a final decision. Additional information may also be requested from the applicant. Once a final decision is made, a summary response to all written comments will be posted on our webpage and provided to everyone on DHEC's mailing list. You have the right to request a final review of any permit decision made by DHEC. The final review request must be submitted in writing to DHEC's clerk of the board within 15 days after notice of DHEC's permit decision has been mailed. In consideration of this requirement, you will receive notification of DHEC's permit decision by standard U.S. mail or by email, provided you are on DHEC's mailing list. If you wish to be notified of DHEC's decision by certified mail instead, please make sure your request is made in writing no later than September 16th of 2020. Please let us know that you participated tonight by completing the registration form on our webpage. Completing this form will also let us know how to notify you of DHEC's final decision, and that will remain open for a couple of days more. Finally, if we did not have an answer to your question tonight, or if you are interested in discussing specific aspects of the proposed Donmar sand mine further, please reach out and connect with us by phone, mail, or email. We will be happy to talk with you more. And again, I know that we're getting some contact information there at the in-person option at the community center for some people that we can maybe follow up with on some of these specific issues that have been brought to light tonight. So with that, on behalf of DHEC, I would again like to thank you for your participation and patience this evening as we work with this technology. Please continue to protect yourself and others by following local, state, and federal guidelines to minimize the spread of COVID-19. Thank you again, and good night.